A very good morning, dear students. Today we will do our next story, that is Jhoothan by Om Prakash Valmiki. Now, Jhoothan is an autobiography by Om Prakash Valmiki. Autobiography क्या होती है? When the person is writing about his own life, there are two things: biography and autobiography. When you write about your own life, that is autobiography. When you are writing about somebody else's life, that is biography. Okay, so I hope you can mark the difference between the two. Now, Jhootan by Valmiki is a full-fledged novel, but there is a small extract जो कि आपके कोर्स में दिया हुआ है. ठीक है, तो अगेन जैसे कि यूनिट का टॉप टाइटल ही है, इट इज व्हाट इज द टाइटल? दलित लिटरेचर. नाउ Om Prakash Valmiki, he is known as one of the most important Indian Dalit writer. Okay, and his Jhootan, this novel by him, Jhootan, is considered as a milestone as far as what is concerned, as far as Dalit literature is concerned. Now, deliverance में हमने देखा कि as far as Dukhi was concerned, in his mind, in his psyche, it was imbibed कि I am untouchable, I am polluted, मुझे अपर क्लास सोसाइटी से दूर रहना है, हमारे कोई राइट्स नहीं हैं. But here, this man over here in this story that is there for you, or let me just say, as far as this novel is concerned, what Valmiki is doing, he is raising a voice against the atrocities that were done towards the untouchable. He raises voice against the inhuman treatment that was given to the untouchables. Then he raises his voice against the how the untouchables are denied even the basic civic amenities. जब हम स्टोरी पढ़ेंगे आपको पता चलेगा, they are as bad as animals. Even a high caste man, a high caste person, he will touch a dog, but he will not let a untouchable touch him by any chance. So see the condition. Untouchables are worst. They are not humans. They are even worse than animals. That was the treatment that they were given. Okay, so here is your text, Jhootan by Om Prakash Valmiki. थोड़ा सा पढ़ लेते हैं. वैसे मैंने आपको बता दिया है about the author. Om Prakash Valmiki was an Indian Dalit writer and poet and is well known for his autobiography Jhootan, considered as a milestone. He was born at a village of Barla in Muzaffarnagar district of Uttar Pradesh. After retirement from government ordnance factory, he lived in Dehradun, where he died of complication arising out of stomach cancer. Being a Dalit child, he was tortured and abused everywhere in society. He was fortunate enough to be born in a household where everyone loved and cared for him. जब हम स्टोरी भी पढ़ेंगे तो हमें ये लगेगा कि वाल्मीकि और let us say the children who untouchable children, they were ill-treated everywhere in the society, whether it was school, whether it was outside, whether it was in the place where they lived, and it was only one place where they got love, and that was their home. They got care at only at their home. The support and encouragement he gained from family enabled him to face dangers of being a Dalit. Right from early stages of his life, Valmiki was conscious of importance of studies, and hence he was always a bright student. Reading and writing made him an enlightened human being. Then here is a collection of his great works. You may read it yourself. Now let us say, what is there about his autobiography? A little bit of it. Let's read it. Jhoothan is a memoir of growing up. Untouchable. Memoir क्या होता है? Memoir is again a biography or a collection of a person's self, his life, person's life. When he is recording about his life, he's telling about his life. That is what a memoir is. He's giving an account, or I should say a detail of one's personal life. That is what memoir is. Growing up untouchable, starting in the 1950s outside a typical village in Uttar Pradesh. Jhootan literally means scraps of food left on a plate destined for garbage or for the family pet in the middle class urban home. It is related to the word jhutha. And what jhutha means? Polluted, and such scraps are characterized as jhootan only if someone eats them. India's untouchables have been forced to accept and eat jhootan for their subsistence for centuries. तो जब कुछ left over food है, and when the other person takes it or eats it, तो वे बोलते हैं कि उसने मेरा जूठा खाया. ठीक है, तो वो जो left over है वो जूठा तब बन जाता है when the other person is taking it. And what is he saying? He's saying India's untouchables have been forced to accept and eat jhootan for subsistence for centuries. So to live, to have something to eat, अपने sustenance के लिए जूठन जो जूठा खाना था वो क्या था? उन लोगों के लिए food था, untouchables के लिए इंडिया में. The word encapsulates the pain, humiliation and poverty of this community, which has lived at the bottom of India's social pyramid for millenniums. So now for you have to remember what Valmiki is focusing on, or what he is saying कि जो word jhootan है वो what it stands for or what it designates. It designates the pain, it designates the humiliation, and it designates the poverty in which the untouchables have lived for ages in our country. Remember this, okay? This the word jhootan की बात हो रही है यहाँ पे, right? He begins by stating that this autobiography is a record of his painful experiences which he has undergone. He mentions that a Dalit's life is always painful and it does not find any place in the literary creations of the mainstream literature. So nobody has written about the atrocities which these people faced, the hard times which these untouchables have gone through. और अगर लिखा भी है तो उसको मेन स्ट्रीम लिटरेचर, जो मेन लिटरेचर है, उसमें कभी उसको प्लेस नहीं दी गई. In the writing of this autobiography, it was possible for him to change the names and places by whom he was ill-treated. But he did not do that because he wanted his experiences to be authentic and verifiable. So he kept the same names of places and persons. So वैसे भी हम कहते हैं फिक्शन क्या है, नॉवल लिखा है इन्होंने, रियल कैरेक्टर्स नहीं होते हैं, वी चेंज देम, फिक्टिशियस कैरेक्टर्स हो जाते हैं. बट हेयर वाल्मीकि ने ऑन पर्पस जानबूझ के जगह के नाम भी वही रखा ऑफ द प्लेसेस विच ही विल मेंशन इन द स्टोरी एंड द नेम ऑफ द पीपल ऑल्सो जिन्होंने उसे इल ट्रीट किया. ही केप्ट देयर ओरिजिनल नेम्स. Valmiki concludes by saying that though India is changed and she has now a superior civilization, the condition of the Dalits is the same. He also mentions that only one who has suffered those bitter experiences knows the sting of it. So, what it is to be a Dalit, uski jo experience के जो एक एहसास है जो स्टिंग स्टिंग होता है काटना. when a honeybee stings you or when a mosquito stings you, so only you know how it hurts. Similarly, only a Dalit knows what bitter experiences he has faced. By reading it we cannot, but these people, they have faced it, so they understand how well they understand how badly they were ill treated by the society. The passage is an extract from Jhoothan, a Dalit's life. ये पूरी story novel का name है. Okay, I am underlining because name of the book should be underlined. Now here begins छोटा सा extract जो novel में से आपको आपके course में prescribed है. Our house was adjacent near to Chandrabhan Taga's घेर. cow shed को बोलते हैं. Chandrabhaga, one of the upper caste people. Next to it lived the families of Muslim weavers. Right in the front of Chandrabhan Taga's gher was a little johri. Johri hota hai pond, which had created a sort of partition between the Chuda's dwelling and the village. Now they were always addressed as Chuda's. Chuda's house, Chuda's boy, Chude ka. The name of the johri was Dabovali. So Dabovali jo tha na, it was somewhere in the center. This was Dabovali, and on one side were the Chandrabhans, right? And who else? The Muslim weavers. And to the other side of the Dabovali, jo pond tha beech mein, that was the Chudas he's mentioning. Perhaps because its shape was that of a big pit, इसीलिए उसका नाम Dabovali था. On one side of the pit were the high walls of brick, home of Tagas. At the right angle to these were the clay walls of the 2 or 3 homes of Jhinbars. After these were the more homes of Tagas. On the edges of the pond were homes of Chudas. Edges क्या हुए? ये जो कोने हुए, edges. All the women of the village, young girls, older women, even newly married brides, would sit in the open space behind their homes at the edges of the pond to take a shit. So ये अब यहाँ शुरू हो रहा है क्या, जो मैंने आपको बताया, the lack of basic amenities. Okay, how dirty their vicinity was, vicinity है ना. And because they were going out for toilets, there were no toilets in their home, they used to go out and defecate. Whether it is a woman, a newlywed woman, or a girl, or whosoever, all the females, they used to go out for shit. Not just under the cover of darkness, सिर्फ अंधेरे में नहीं, even in the light they used to go. The Parda observing Tyagi women, their faces covered with their saris, shawls around their shoulders, found relief in this open air latrine. They sat on Dabovali's shores without worrying about decency. So they defecated outside and they did not bother about decency, exposing their private parts. All the quarrels of the village would be discussed in the shape of a round table conference at this same spot. There was muck strewn all over. The stench was so overpowering that one would choke within a minute. The pigs wandering in narrow lanes, naked children, dogs, daily fights. This was the environment of my childhood. If the people who call the caste system an ideal social arrangement had to live in this environment for a day or two, they would change their mind. So इसे जो लोग इक्वालिटी की बात करते हैं ना और कास्ट सिस्टम को बहुत आइडियल मानते हैं, these people, they need to come here, stay here, and live at this place where stench hoti hai, badboo. The smell is so bad that person can choke. He may die of the bad smell that is over there because the muck is strewn all over. So he says, this was my childhood, how I were of the place where I lived. Our family lived in this Chuda Basti. 5 brothers, 1 sister, 2 chachas, 1 tau and his family. Chachas and tau lived separately. Everyone in the family did some or other work. Even then, we did not manage to get 2 decent meals a day. See, kitni badi family hai. Everybody is doing some kind of work or the other. But they did not get 2 decent meals. Imagine 2 decent meals. We did all sorts of work for the Tagas. Cleaning, including cleaning, agriculture work, general labor. We would often have to work without pay. काम इतना करते थे ये लोग upper caste के लिए, but they never got paid properly. अगर उनको at least pay वो properly करते तो they could at least get 3 meals, proper 3 meals of the day. यहाँ तो ये 2 की बात कर रहा है, 3 तो भूल ही जाइए. Nobody dared to refuse this unpaid work. They did not refuse this unpaid work, for which we got neither money nor gain. Instead, we got sworn at. Sworn at, gaaliyan milti thi. We were abused. They did not call us by our names. If the person were elder, then he would be called O Chude. If the person were younger or the same age, then Abe Chude was used. So now you can imagine कि नाम तक से नहीं बुलाते थे. They were referred to as O Chude या Abe Chude. Untouchability was so rampant, so spread, so outspread, so imbibed in the minds of the people that while it was considered a right to touch dogs, this I told you, see, right to touch dogs and cats or buffaloes and cows, if one happens to touch a chuda, one got contaminated or polluted. The chudas were not seen as humans. Now this I told you, they were not seen as humans. They were simply things for use. How to use? For their work, and do not pay for that work. That is how they were used. Their utility lasted until the work was done. जब तक उनकी जरूरत थी वो काम कर रहे हैं तब तक उनकी utility है. Otherwise they are of no use. Use them and then throw them away. So this is the situation of the untouchables. A Christian used to visit our neighborhood. His name was Sevak Ram Masihi. He would sit with the children of the Chudas around him. He used to teach them reading and writing. अब मैं जैसे स्टोरी पढ़ रही हूँ जहां मुझे लगता है कि आप समझ सकते हैं. Since you people have opted for English as one of your important subject, I would not like to use translation method आप लोगों के लिए. कहीं कहीं बीच में ठीक है कुछ समझा दिया. But when we translate the crux, एक जो enjoyment होती है ना of reading a story or reading a poetry, that is loosen up somehow. You don't enjoy that much. But then I understand at some places it has to be done, and of course as far as compulsory classes are concerned, there we do use this method, because generally review का मैम तो इंग्लिश में पढ़ाती रहती है, हमें तो कुछ समझ नहीं आता, तो इंग्लिश में ही पढ़ाएंगे ना, कैसे पढ़ाएंगे. और okay, so that was just a distraction. Let us come back. His name was this Sevak Ram Masihi. He would sit with the children around him, Chuda's children. He used to teach them reading and writing. The government schools did not allow these children to enroll. तो government school में चूड़ास के बच्चे नहीं पढ़ने जाते थे. Untouchables के बच्चे, they could not go to study. My family sent only myself to Sevak Ram Masihi. My brothers were all working. There was no question of sending our sister to school. Sister को school भेजने का तो सवाल ही नहीं था. I learnt my alphabet in Master Sevak Ram Masihi's open-air school, a school without mats or rooms. One day, Sevak Ram Masihi and my father had an argument. तो father की उनके साथ argument हो गई, तो वो open-air school भी बेचारे का खत्म हो गया. And my father took me to the basic primary school. There my father begged, भीख मांगी उन्होंने किससे? Master हरफूल सिंह, मास्टर जी, आई विल बी फॉर एवर इन योर डेट, मैं ऋणी रहूंगा आपका, इफ यू टीच दिस चाइल्ड ऑफ माइन अ लेटर और टू, इफ यू टीच माई चाइल्ड लाइक यूर टीचिंग द अदर स्टूडेंट, अदर children of the upper class, I will always be indebted to you. ऋणी रहूंगा मैं आपका forever. Master Harfool Singh asked us to come the next day. My father went. He kept going for several days. Finally, one day I was admitted to school. Finally, he was admitted to school. The country had become independent 8 years ago. 1947? 8 की बात हो रही है, तो कितना हो गया? 1947, and then after 8 years, 1955 is the time when he is talking about. Gandhiji's uplifting of untouchables was resounding everywhere. Although the doors of the government schools had begun to open for untouchables, now this is important, the mentality of the ordinary people had not changed. कैसे change नहीं हुई? देखो क्या करना पड़ा उसे. I had to sit away from others in the class, that too on the floor. The man ran out before reaching the spot. बच्चे उसको ऐसे तंग करते थे. They did not let him sit on the floor. And before he would come, उसका mat छुपा देते थे. I sat on. Sometimes I would have to sit way behind everybody. Class में last में बैठना पड़ता था. And he could not hear anything over there. Right near the door. And the letters on the board from there seemed faded. उसको words ही नहीं नजर आते थे इतनी दूर से board के ऊपर. The children of the Tyagis would tease me by calling me Chudeka. Sometimes they would beat me without any reason. This was an absurd, tormented life that made me introverted and irritable. Introverted who remains shy and, doesn't open up very quickly, cannot make friends, cannot speak up in the public, and irritable. If I got thirsty in school, then I had to stand near the hand pump. The boys would beat me in any case, but the teachers also punished me. Now see, जो और बच्चे हैं, they are obviously teasing him, but even the teachers did this. All sorts of strategies were tried so that I would run away from the school and take up the kind of work for which I was born. So what Valmiki is trying to tell here, that the children of the untouchable were not considered to be, they were not supposed to study. They were not supposed to go to school. Why did they take birth? They were untouchable, so they were supposed to work. They were not supposed to learn. According to these perpetrators, my attempts to get schooling were unwarranted. They were trying every way that this boy should run away from the school. Ram Singh and Sukhan Singh were also in my class. Ram Singh was a chamar and Sukhan Singh was a jhinwar. Ram Singh's father and mother worked as agricultural laborers. Sukhan Singh's father was a PN in the inter-college. The three of us studied together, grew up together, experienced the sweat and sour moments of childhood together. All three of us were very good in our studies, but our lower caste background dogged us at every step. We were pulled back at every step, though we were very good at studies. Barla village also had some Muslim Tyagis who were called Tagas as well. The behavior of these Muslims was just like that of the Hindu Tagas. If we ever went out wearing neat and clean clothes, we had to hear their taunts that pierced deep inside like poisoned arrows. They used to taunt us अगर हमने गलती से साफ कपड़े पहन के हम बाहर निकले. If we went to the school in neat clothes, then our class fellows said, "Abhi Chudeka, he has come dressed in new clothes." If One went wearing old and shabby clothes. Then they said, Abbe chudeka, get away from me. You stink, you smell. तो किसी भी तरह से, they would not let them settle at any point, settle in the sense, if they would wear dirty clothes, then they would say you stink. If they wear good clothes, new clothes, then again they would taunt. Like somehow or the other, they had to say something or the other to them. They had to show them that you are an untouchable. Now he says, see how well it is written. There was a no-win situation. ना इस तरफ ना उस तरफ, no win situation. We were humiliated whichever way we dressed. चाहे हम जैसे भी कपड़े पहन लेते, we were humiliated. I reached 4th class. Headmaster Bishambar Singh had been replaced by Kali Ram. Along with him had come another new teacher. After the arrival of these two, the three of us fell on the terrible times. We would be thrashed at the slightest excuse. Ram Singh would escape once in a while, but Sukhan Singh and I got beaten almost daily. अब ये जो दो नए teacher, headmaster Bishambar Singh ji आए, and followed by Kali Ram. Kali Ram was so cruel. He used to beat them for nothing just because they were untouchables. Sukhan Singh had developed a boil on his belly. Now this is a very, heart-pricking episode that Valmiki has mentioned here. Just below his ribs. तो एक फोड़ा था, एक फिंसी थी on his belly, just below the ribs. While in class, he used to keep his shirt folded up so as to keep the boil uncovered. This way, the shirt could be kept clear of the pus. जो sore था उसमें से pus was coming out from the boil, right? So he used to keep his shirt a little up when he was sitting in the class. One day, while thrashing Sukhan Singh, the teacher's fist hit the boil. Oh my God! When he was beating Sukhan Singh, तो उसका मुक्का जो था, when he was hitting him, that hit what? It hit his boil. Sukhan screamed with pain. The boil had burst. Seeing him flailing with pain, I too began to cry. See how weak he was internally, how weak. He could imagine the pain his friend was facing. While he cried, the teacher was showering abuse on us non-stop. He was calling names, गालियां दे रहे थे. If I repeated his abusive words here, they would smear the nobility of Hindi. हिंदी की बेइज्जती होगी अगर मैं ये लिखूं कि वो क्या कैसे कैसे abuses उन्होंने दिए. I say that because अभी अपनी किसी और स्टोरी का मेंशन दे रहे हैं. Big named Hindi writers had wrinkled their nose and eyebrows when I had a character in my short story Bel Ki Khal, the oxhide swear. So कुछ controversy create हो गई थी when he had used this term. Coincidentally, the character who swore was a Brahmin, that is, the knower of Brahma, of God. Was it possible? Would a Brahmin swear? So how could a Brahmin swear? How could a Brahmin abuse? Now, the idle image of the teachers that I saw in my childhood has remained indelible, imprinted on my memory. तो जो teachers का एक image है ना, क्या image? गुरु का. That he could never find. What or who was a guru, he could never understand that. He could never find that. Whenever someone starts it is taking, लेकिन talking होना चाहिए, about a great guru, I remember all those teachers who used to swear about mothers and sisters. They used to fondle good-looking boys and invited them to their homes and sexually abuse them. Here Valmiki is trying to tell us that he has had very, unhappy memories, whenever he says if anybody in the later part of his age, if anybody mentioned about a guru to him, so how he remembered the guru? He remembered the guru abusing him. He remembered the guru calling him names against mother and sisters, abusing him that ways also. And another way he remembered the guru was that they used to call them home and they used to abuse them sexually. That is what every time the memory used to come to him whenever he thought of or whenever he was talked about guru. One day, the headmaster Kaliram called me to his room and asked, "Abe, what is your name?" "Om Prakash," I answered slowly and fearfully. Children used to feel scared just encountering the headmaster. The entire school was terrified of him. "Chureka?" Headmaster threw his second question at me. "Ji." "All right. See that teak tree there? Go, climb that tree. Break some twigs," branches matlab, break some twigs and make a broom. Jharu banao. Branches nikal ke. "And sweep the whole school clean as mirror." Shishe ki tarah chamka do. Clean the whole school. It is after all your family occupation. So because you are an untouchable, because you are downtrodden, you are not supposed to study. What your work over here is, that is your family occupation, to sweep and to broom. Go, get it. Obeying headmaster's orders, I cleaned all the rooms and the verandas. Just as I was about to finish, he came to me and said, "After you have swept the rooms, go and sweep the playground." Can you imagine the playground? Huge playground. He says, once you have cleaned the rooms, then you go and sweep the playground. The playground was way larger than my small physique. Physique, uski body. His height, his posture, his weight. He says, I was so small and the ground was so big. The playground was way larger than my small physique could handle, and in cleaning it, my back began to ache. My face was covered with dust. Dust had gone inside my mouth. The other children in my class were studying and I was sweeping. See this plight. Headmaster was sitting in his room and watching me. I was not even allowed to get a drink of water. Oh my God, just see that. I swept whole day. I had never done so much work, being the pampered one among my brothers. So he says, I had never done so much of work because I was the youngest one. I was the pampered one. And I was not even allowed a drink of water, a drop of water. The second day, as soon as I reached school, headmaster again put me to sweeping the school. I swept the whole day. I was consoling myself that I will go back to class from tomorrow. So he was saying, okay, never mind. I did it yesterday. I'm doing it today. Maybe tomorrow, definitely, I will go back and study in my class. The third day, I went to the class and sat down quietly. After a few minutes, the headmaster's loud thundering was heard. Abe chudeka, chureke, motherfucker, where are you hiding, your mother? I had begun to shake uncontrollably. A Tyagi boy shouted, Master Sahib, there he is sitting in the corner. एक चीज मैं आपको बताऊं, you can see these three dots, you know. So what these three dots means, that some part of the story has been omitted. Few lines, few paragraphs have been omitted. That is what it implies. Okay. So I had begun to shake uncontrollably. Okay, we have read this. The headmaster had pounced on my neck. Held him by the neck. Gardan se pakad liya usko. The pressure of his finger was increasing as a wolf grabs a lamb by the neck. He dragged me out of the class and threw me on the ground. He screamed, go, sweep the whole ground. Otherwise, I will shove chilies on your ass and throw you out of the school. So he warned him that if you sit here and study, I will do really bad things to you. Frightened, I picked up the 3-day-old broom. Just like me, he says the condition of the broom and my condition was the same. The broom was 3 days old and I was all tired of this work which I was forced to do from the last 3 days. It was shredding its dried up leaves. All that remained were the thin sticks. Tears were falling from my eyes. I started to sweep the compound while my tears fell. From the doors and windows of the schoolrooms, the eyes of the teachers and the boys saw this spectacle. Whatever was going on, how Valmiki was cleaning the ground, what was his condition, his cry, the way he was crying, everybody was watching that. Each pore of my body was submerged in an abyss of anguish. He was feeling so painful, so sad that why is he being humiliated in such a manner? He has come to school to study, but he is being forced to work and work like hell. Just then my father passed by the school. He stopped abruptly when he saw me sweeping the school compound. He called me, Munshi ji, what are you doing? So Valmiki's father, he used to call him Munshi ji. Munshi ji was the pet name my father had given me. When I saw him, I burst out sobbing. He started crying loudly. He entered the school compound and came towards me. Seeing me crying, he asked, Munshi ji, why are you crying? Tell me what has happened. I was hiccuping by now. Hiccups क्या होते हैं? हिचकी आ रही थी इतना रो के उनको. He was hiccuping. In between my hiccups, I told the whole story to my father, that the teacher had been making me sweep for last 3 days, that they did not let me enter the classroom at all. Pitaji snatched the broom from my hand and threw it away. His eyes were blazing. He was full of anger. He was burning with anger. Pitaji, who was always taut, rigid, stiff, as a bowstring. String? The rope of the bow, right? Pitaji snatched the broom from my hand and threw it away. His eyes were blazing. His eyes were burning with anger. Pitaji, who was always taut as bowstring in front of others, was so angry that his dense moustache was fluttering. It was moving. The moustache was fluttering. And taut over here he was very rigid. He was stiff. And what is he comparing? Stiff like the rope of the bow, right? He began to scream, who is that teacher, that progeny of Dronacharya who forces my son to sweep? Now, in that anger with which he is burning, he says, who is that teacher who's the progeny, the child of Dronacharya, who is forcing my son to clean the playground, clean the school? अब द्रोणाचार्य से कंपैरिजन क्यों किया यहाँ पे वाल्मीकि के फादर ने? बिकॉज अगर आपको कहानी पता है, ये द्रोणाचार्य ही वॉज गुरु एंड इन्होंने एकलव्य से गुरु दक्षिणा में क्या मांगा था? ही हैड आस्क्ड फॉर हिज राइट थंब. नोइंग दिस, पहली बात तो ये कि उन्हें था कि एकलव्य कहता है कि आप मेरे पास आपको गुरु दक्षिणा में देने को कुछ नहीं है, व्हाट कैन आई गिव टू यू? And knowing that he might lose his mastery in archery, धनुष विद्या में अगर उनके पास थंब नहीं है, how will he do that? How will he practice that? Still he asks him for his thumb. That is why Valmiki's father is comparing him to a teacher or to a guru like Dronacharya, who has asked Eklavya for his thumb in Guru Dakshina. Pitaji's voice had echoed through the whole school. All the teachers, also with the headmaster, came out. Kaliram, the headmaster, threatened my father and called him names. Unko bhi abuses diye. But his threats had no effect on Pitaji. I had never forgotten the courage and fortitude the determination, fortitude with which my father confronted the headmaster that day. Pitaji had all sorts of weaknesses, but the decisive turn that he gave my future that day has had a great impact on my personality. Now, deliverance का ही example उठाएं. दुखी ने react नहीं किया against the atrocity जो पंडित घासीराम उसके ऊपर करने की कोशिश कर रहा था. ठीक है, एक डेट निकालने के लिए he slaved him to death. Here, even Valmiki's father sees what headmaster is doing. He is just humiliating a student because he belongs to a lower caste. Because he is an untouchable. So the way he confronted that teacher and the way he confronted every upper class person who was there, the students or other teachers, it gave him that confidence that yes, you have to stand against whatever is being done wrong against you. Speak up against whatever or whenever a person is doing wrong to you. So that made a difference as far as his future is concerned. The headmaster had roared. He shouted, roared. Roar? Who roars? I think a lion roars, right? So he roared. Take him away from here. The Chura wants him educated. Go. Otherwise, I will have your bones broken. Pitaji took my hand and started walking towards our home. As he walked away, he said loudly, enough for the headmaster to hear. You are a teacher, so I am leaving now. But remember this much, master, this chudeka will study here. Isko warning deke jata hai, no? He's saying, remember this, I am going because you are a teacher. But remember this, my child will study here in this school. And not just him, but there will be more coming after him. Pitaji had faith that the Tyagis of the village would chastise Master Kaliram for his behavior. But what happened was the exact opposite. Whosoever's doors we knock, the answer was, what is the point of sending him to school? When has a crow become a swan? You illiterate, boorish people, what do you know? Knowledge is not gained like this. So he says he's meant to work. Let him work. Why are you sending him to school? Chastise means to punish, okay? You illiterate, boorish people. Knowledge is not gained like this. Hey, if he asked a Chura's progeny to sweep, what is the big deal in that? अगर वो चूड़े के बच्चे को सफाई करने को बोल रहा है तो उसमें क्या गलत है? What wrong Kaliram did? He only got to sweep, did not ask for thumb in the Guru Dakshina like Dronacharya, and so forth. Pitaji came back, tired and dejected, sad. He sat up all night without food or drink. He did not drink anything. He did not eat anything. God knows how deep an anguish Pitaji went through. Anguish, anger. As soon as the morning broke, he took me along and went to house of Pradhan. Pradhan who? Sagwa Singh Tyagi. As soon as the Pradhan saw Pitaji, he said, Abhi Chudeka, what is the matter? You have come so early in the morning? Chaudhry Sahab, you say that the government has opened the doors of the schools for the children of Chudas and Chamars, and that headmaster makes this child of mine come out of the class and sweep all day instead of teaching him. So he's not teaching him. Rather what he's doing, he says go and sweep the school. If he has to sweep the school all day, then you tell me, when is he going to study? Pitaji was supplicating the Pradhan. He had tears in his eyes. I was standing near him and looking at him. So what happened? Now he went to the Pradhan, and the child of Pradhan, his son, was studying in the same class in which Valmiki was studying. And he says that you say government says everybody is equal, but see, my child is not allowed to study. He's being forced to work. G, the fourth, you are in my Mahindra's class. G, the next day I went to school with fear of stalking my heart. that Kaliram will definitely say him something. He was full of fear. I sat in the class in trepidation, in fear something would go wrong. He'll come, he'll throw me out of the class and ask me to sweep the floor. Every second I worried that the headmaster was coming. Now he comes. At the slightest sound, my heart pounded. So he was having the fears that Kaliram will come and he will make him work. After a few days, things calmed down, but my heart trembled the moment I saw Headmaster Kaliram. It seemed as though it wasn't a teacher who was coming towards me, but a snorting wild bear, with his snout up in the air. Snout is the nose. And with the snout up in the air, he's coming to me. He will come on me and pounce on me and ask me to go out and sweep the floor. So, what do you think has happened? Did Kaliram came and did he force him to do anything? Did he ask Valmiki to go out and sweep the floor? No. After the submission that Valmiki's father made with the Pradhan, there was no more atrocity which Valmiki had to face at the hands of the teachers or at the hands of Kaliram. After this, his education went on well. Okay, so with this, the story comes to an end, though it is abrupt because it is a small, very small extract, that has been taken from his autobiography. So, what we have to keep in mind that the most important part is the title, right? Keeping in view the things that we have seen, the events that we have seen, like what was the condition of, let us say, the civic amenities that were concerned. Right? Then followed by, after the civic amenities, what all these people were facing, what problems they were facing, what we will keep in mind, that they were not treated as humans. They were worse than whom? Worse than animals. They could touch the animals, but they would not let them touch them. And then they were not called by their names. They were called Chudeka. Okay? So there was, you can say, there was this lack of identity as human, as a person. Okay? Then the denial of education we have seen. And what else? Apart from that, what all we have seen? The atrocities faced at the end or at the school. Bad experiences. Okay, and all this happened because they were untouchable. The crude caste system that existed in India in the year 1955. So these are various aspects as far as the story is concerned. Okay, we can focus on this and elaborate. More so, of course, you will get to write questions on the theme. You will get reference to the context. ये comprehension बोलूँगी मैं, comprehension questions जो हमने deliverance में भी किए. Plus, this holds a very, very great significance. How do you justify the title with the elements that are there in the story? That is what you will have to work upon. So, I want जब आप lecture सुन लेते हैं, then read the story, because what will happen when things are discussed, when things are told to you, when you're learning things, and after that when you read the story, there is a far better clarity when you read the story otherwise. So what I want you all to do, that after you have seen the lecture, try to understand, see once, as many times as you want, but then read the story again. That makes things very clear. और हम कहते हैं ना, grow with literature, इसे कहते हैं grow with literature. These are things which you have to know from the examination point of view. But when I'm saying grow with literature, know things, read the text. Text is very important. So I hope you enjoyed the story. Thank you so much, and please take good care of yourself.